A very, very good morning to everyone who have come and joined this webinar organized by Brainware University. Uh, just just a word or two about the university. It's a very young university. It's about 4 years old, but it has already have more than 4,000 students, and it has courses of 50 plus at the moment, generally on the computer science and technical subjects. But we have a, a, a department and which is growing also in terms of liberal arts, humanities, and media. Media science is also a department, very young, but it is there is a lot of enthusiasm in it. So it is one of the first webinars trying to bring in the important galaxies like you to be able to give some encouragement to the new students who have joined the university. Now we are in the process of going through an induction process of the new students. It is just an attempt to make them feel encouraged. We have lots, lots of, negative things coming said about the media. So I will introduce our, star speakers today, and then we will ask one by one, so that they can at least tell them, in spite of the COVID, in spite of the economy, the media sector itself, for various reasons, it is not on the downside. It is on the growth path. Why and how it will be, what will be the future? Let us discuss. So that will also be something for the students to feel encouraged and also understand the reality. So we have here uh, Mr. Dilip Cherian. He's a veteran in the media industry. He has been for long a media personality, and now he he owns a company called Perfect Relations. I mean, a media company, and he you can say drives the media. He's a driving force in the media industry itself. Dilip, we have also Professor K G Suresh. He's a big name. He's also from the media, but then he switched to academics like me, and he was heading the, was the Director General of the famous Indian Institute of Mass Communication in Delhi. And now in Dehradun, he has set up a new organization, a new media institute, which I was talking before we started. We were talking about it in the lovely surroundings of Dehradun. He has got a new institute of to train the media. The people, the future journalists. Then we have Arijit. Arijit, he's also a leader in, and very long he has been with the media industry. He heads the Economic Times in Bombay, and as you know, I mean, this is where things are happening. You know, I mean, the man who has been, looking after where the Indian industry, or where the Indian economy is moving. So he's the man to discuss or talk about. And we have he's quite young, and we wish him all the best for his future. And the youngest among us is Nilashish. He's a student of media. Nilashish studied in Manipal University, and then joined the Google. And now he's I would say, in terms of job experience, he's also a veteran. He's a digital marketing specialist. So there are options for media students to farm out, and not just into the traditional the print media or the television or public relation. There can be other, because the IT sector is also growing. So we will listen about the growth sectors, or the areas where media students can have their future. So thank you, Nilashish. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Professor Suresh and Orijit, for coming and joining us. We will ask our guests to speak for some time on this topic. I mean, the topic, let me name the topic. Once COVID may change, it is definitely, it has changed. We have gone online now. The classes have become online. So it may change the process, but it will not lessen the media opportunities. That is the main topic. Well, naturally, we can add on to it whatever we think is possible, or whatever we think is relevant. So can we start with Dilip? Dilip, can you sort of give us some hope? I mean, where we have in media, for example, we have so much of negativism, so much of I mean, like fake news. People try to question our credibility, and I mean, I mean, the paid news and everything. And in spite of that, there are so much of interest among the youngsters to study media. Why is this? And I just want to quote one line from one of the reports, the latest reports of Ficky and Ernestine Young. The latest report says, in spite of everything, of course, they did not take into consideration of the COVID. Uh, the industry has been growing 13%, and I mean, it is already a 1.67 trillion rupees industry. So there is a lot of hope with the industry, the media and entertainment industry. So why is this, and why the students, in spite of all the criticism that we have with the media, why are they so enthused about the industry itself? Dilip, please.
Thank you, Boroshiva. Really a great pleasure to be here with Professor Suresh, Arijit Barman, and Nilashish Basu. Thank you, and I hope that we are able to throw some light on the questions that you have raised. So, all of us have been watching the progress or the process of COVID changing our lives. And I think that media has also been watching it, but unfortunately, the way media has been watching it has neither been constructive nor creative. So I'll begin by saying that there is, in some senses, a, a change which has been happening for a while, but which COVID has made, in some senses, more public and more visible. Because of COVID, dramatic shifts happened in the media landscape. Um, all of us know that newspaper circulation probably dropped between 40 to 60% during this period. A lot of people give rosy figures, but I would say that anyone who is um, uh, tagging it as less than 60% is probably being unfair to statistics. The good news, though, is that newspapers are back. They're roaring back, and you can see that as of you know the figures that we have got at Perfect Relations refer to end July, that they are back, and the drop is less than 30%. So I'm saying that if we take the month of August, the drop in total will probably be around 20%. So it's still some way from reaching what used to be January 2020 figures. Consumers have discovered, like all of us have discovered, the benefits and the advantages of e-newspapers. I do all my reading in the morning, and we at in the company monitor about 170 publications, and the monitoring goes on seamlessly because publishing has changed the landscape, and access is now taken for granted. What has grown during the COVID period is television. Average daily viewership of television, from what we understand, has gone up by 12%. And social media, and I'm sure Nilashish will explain and go granular on this, but time spent on social media has surged by 25% in urban India. So we don't have figures for rural India, which I'm willing to stick my neck out with. But I think urban India, the figure is quite substantial. So if you take the broad sweep of media, people have been exposed to more media as a result of COVID than ever before. More time available, more access, more ease. These are the three factors which have driven this. Does this mean more opportunity uh, for the young people who are listening? Yes, if you know what media to get into and which aspect of to look at, where the growth will actually happen. Uh, Most of the media that exists will also be scrabbling for revenue, and therefore, um, you know, between Google and Facebook, they are the big revenue generators for all e-publications, and therefore the dependency on those kinds of avenues is changing the landscape even from the advertising point of view. Now, some of these changes that have taken place are not going to be reversed very easily. For example, talking of a different kind of media, movie releases have shifted almost entirely to OTT platforms. So there is not that much dependence on the Friday opening figures. You can open on a day of your choice, you can open on a night of your choice, you can open at a time of your choice, and media is now flexible enough to understand that this is the way of the future. And film is usually a precursor to what's going to happen to the rest of the media, which is why I'm bringing it in here. I'm not going to cover everything just now. All I want to say is that the um, and I'll stop in a few minutes so that others can then get in, and then we can come back around if you want any further clarifications or if you want us to carry on further. Is that all right for you, Burishwa? I'll speak for a few minutes more. I'm not going to take up 8 minutes as you
Yes, yes, yes,
requested, but
please,
I'm going to stop
please.
in a few minutes. So
Yeah,
the
sure.
shift that has happened is that TV reportage from the ground has shifted to news reporters reporting from studios. So crowdsourcing of stories has become much more both viral and viable. People are depending on your friendly neighbor, the bystander, the person on the spot to get on the spot coverage, which earlier used to be the realm of television reporters. So you've seen a few exceptions of reporters who've done exceptional work in terms of reporting from the ground, and I need to call out Barkha's efforts, for example, with the people who are walking back home, and they the reporting style and the ability to singularly carry your story without the paraphernalia of cameraman, assistant, someone giving you the script to read, etc., is now in the past. So if you want to be a skilled media person in the future, you have to recognize that what you see in COVID and what you have seen in terms of reporting is going to be the style in the future. And why am I so confident about that? Because of the pressure on revenue, newspapers and television channels and um, websites which carry news are all going to be dependent on multitaskers who are awake, alive, and alert 24 by 7. So, as a profession, we have um, compromised with geography, we have to compromise with time limits, and we have to recognize that there are no barriers to the barriers between private time and office time have all gone for a toss. So I'll stop here. These are the changes that I see at the moment, and this is the direction that I see media going at least for the next few years before the next inflection point happens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip. Professor Suresh, we'll come to you. You're the star speaker. We'll come to you. But let me sort of ask Nilashish to carry on from for the new generation. I mean, what are the new avenues the online avenues that you see, which Dilip hinted. So Nilashi,
No,
please.
yeah, and first of all, it's a great privilege and honor to be present among you all, and it's great to hear from all of you and interact with students. And as Mr. Cherry rightly mentioned, there has been an inflection point in media. So I will kind of highlight a couple of factors which I think are have changed or will stay this way for the next few years or even more. One thing is the whole work from home thing. Work from home in a hybrid model or in a long term model will stay for the near future. And I think that represents a great opportunity for
आ
every one of us that represents a great opportunity for every one of us in the media, because it's becoming e-everything. It's e-education, e-shopping, e-entertainment. So that represents opportunities for folks and students who want to be present in these fields. Uh, People are spending much more time on OTT. Netflix subscriptions have hit off the roof. So I think there are a lot more opportunities because people have more time in their hands. People want to utilize their time in the meaningful way. So that gives an opportunity for students, for creative professionals, for people who want to make meaningful content. There are more avenues and opportunities to do that. So I think that the shift that has happened in the form of the way we work is going to have a positive impact on media. Yes, advertising revenues are down in the short term because companies did not have an opportunity to sell their products. They didn't want an opportunity to advertise. But slowly things are coming back. Newspaper subscriptions might have gone down, possibly due to misinformation. I know for a fact that a lot of housing societies simply did not allow newspapers into their housing societies because of unfounded fears. So I think there was a greater need for information and news during these COVID times, which has not gotten over. It is going to continue, and we need more information rather than less. The way information is disseminated, the platform and everything might change, but the process of gathering information, the process of putting it together, those talents are still required. They can move from one platform to the other, but the essence will still stay the same. So that's what I feel from mostly a media consumer perspective, somebody who has gone through the change. From my own personal example, my dad, he would only watch television. He would go to the shop to buy things physically. But now that things have changed, he's ordering medicines online. He wants to maintain that physical/social distance. So the entire integration with technology, entire integration with some sort of media has definitely changed in the last few months or quarters, and that is something which is going to stay, which holds great opportunities for the students who are coming in. Every one of us needs to upskill. All of them do. And I clearly remember something, sir, which you mentioned when I was passing out of Manipal University, that as we get into the industry, we really have to unlearn what we have learned, which means that we have to keep upskilling ourselves. That is something the students have to continue doing. But overall, I do see a lot of hope. I do see exponential growth in a lot of industries and media industries. So there might be short-term pain, but definitely we are in for, if folks are in for the long haul, there are much more opportunities there.
Yeah, Nilashish, we'll come back to you again. Arijit, could you back up our ideas about what, as Dilip said, that the print is coming back? I mean, how far the print is coming back? We found in the report, at least the FICCI report, that the growth in India, the print had continued to be 3.4 or 3.5. I mean, in terms of the other, sectors, print has been growing. So, what is your idea on how it can grow? How it does it, combine with the digital platforms, and how does it grow? what are the opportunities? Yes, please, Arijit.
Roshimda, thank you for having me here, and good morning to everyone. Uh, See, print is facing a bit of an existential crisis, largely because, as Nilashish and Dilip also said, that because of the fear psychosis regarding COVID, people are just scared to pick up the physical paper. So that definitely has impacted circulation, and with that also advertising. But um, most print organizations have also realized over the years that the reading habits are changing. And mind you, print in India always survived because it's a matter of habit. I remember we were told when we were growing up that if you have to learn English, read the Statesman. If you then in college, New York Times, Guardian, Washington Post, we didn't have much access to it. We would go to USIS library, so they were aspirational brands. So and then over the years that I've been working, it's in newspapers, it's always in India been the medium of record, right? I mean, you go to a newspaper to cut the clutter. I mean, television, where I've spent 9 years in television, and I've seen it evolve. It's become rather noisy in the studios, if I can put it politely. So, print organizations have also realized over the years that you cannot just be a standalone player. You have to have digital as a very key component of your overall strategy. Because if people in the 30 to 50 and above, are habituated reading the newspapers, millennials, they consume news largely on different platforms, and digital is the key. So print is also going back to the drawing books to work and look at a far more integrated strategy of integrated newsrooms. Uh, and these days, it's a reality that the news breaks on Twitter, or even if it's a video clip on Instagram, and and newspapers, uh, when they report the same news, is it news or is it more analysis? So newspapers are becoming magazines in that sense, becoming more analytical, along with obviously large breaking news. But most cases, breaking news part happens on digital, and print has to, then take the story forward, give you far more perspective, far more in-depth reportage, and stay relevant 24 or 12 hours later. So that's what is happening.
Okay.
We are combining rather than working in silos. So print, digital, it's all together, and for a much more comprehensive offering.
Okay. Arijit, thank you. We will come back again. Professor, you being there in the media, both on this side as well as that side. I mean, you have been a working journalist and then now a very renowned teacher. I mean, what our field people like Nilashish talked about the digital media, and then Arijit the print media, and Arijit talked about the combining the two. I mean, do they sort of be rivals, or how do they survive, or how do they to their mutual benefit? How do they combine or cooperate? How do they do it? Yes, Professor.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to all of you and a happy Janmashtami. Uh, uh, Really delighted to be part of this distinguished panel and great connecting with old friends like Dilip after a long time, and great. Uh, I think that my previous speakers have already put the things in perspective. But today morning headline is about the violence in Bangalore. 3 people killed. Now that has been the outcome of what you saw in a Facebook post. I think this once again reiterates, the importance of mainstream, whether you call it so-called or whatever. of credible media. And this entire talk about citizen journalism and all that, I have my issues because only yesterday I read a news report from Assam which said that the Assam police has seized, got hold of many people who were operating Facebook pages which used to reveal the names of rape victims. I'm sure Neela Sheesh has gone through that report. So now this is being dished out in the name of citizen journalism. I have my total disagreement with this term citizen journalism, because you can't have a citizen doctor, you can't have a citizen engineer, you can't have a citizen chartered accountant, so you cannot be having a citizen journalist also. You can call him a citizen communicator, you can call him a tech citizen, a content creator, but not a journalist. Journalism is a profession, and we are all trained professionals. That calls that emphasizes on the need for journalist training. That's very critical, and that too in an era when we are dealing with problems like fake content. Again, I have a reservation over the terminology fake news, because for me, fake news is an oxymoron. If it is fake, it cannot be news, and if it is news, it cannot be fake. News is a processed product. I've been a journalist for 35 years, and I know that how much I put in before a tip off turns into a news. I convert into a news because that a lot of fact checking goes into it, a lot of verification and cross verification goes into it, a lot of sourcing goes into it, a lot of I take into account aspects of libel, slander, defamation, IPC, CRPs. Only then my desk clears the story. So if it is news, then it cannot be fake. It can be anything. It can be content, it can be disinformation, it can be misinformation, whatever you call it, but please don't call it fake news. We are denigrating news by calling people as journalists, untrained people as journalists. We are again denigrating journalists. Let's not give credibility to these people. Having said so, I'm really delighted that you have organized this talk on a very important subject, because I see some prophets of doom writing the obit for print. I believe that it's early days. uh, Print in India has reinvented itself. I can name number of newspapers who have not just uh, they are not just having multiple editions, but I come from Kerala, and in my state you have newspapers which have converted themselves into community newspapers, and community newspapers are thriving in Australia, in Canada, in so many countries. And that's what they talk about: individuals. They talk about yes, they do cover global and national and local issues in a big way, but they also talk about the people in their respective areas, and that is how they are becoming relevant to the local people. That is important. So I don't see, honestly speaking, an early demise. Yes, as my earlier panelists put it, yes, absolutely, there is a switch over from print to digital, particularly among the youngsters, and from entertainment channels to to news channels. If you look at the bark ratings, there has been a shift from entertainment channels to news channels. That's primarily because entertainment channels were not having fresh content during the COVID. Shootings had stopped, and they were not having, so they were repeating, retelecasting the old episodes. So then you saw the Ramayana and the Mahabharata being brought out by Doordarshan, and they are hitting the world records. So people, and secondly, people were confined to their homes, and they were hungry for information, for news related to their cities, their country, their localities. So they were switching over to television. But I think that as we normalize, as the vaccine comes into play, I think that things are going to be different. We are going back to entertain. Yes, as it was mentioned here, OTT platforms are going to be big time in the so far as digital is concerned. Yes, we are going to use digital more, no doubt about it. But I believe Broshiva, that you may talk about technology ad nauseum, but let me tell you, ultimately content is going to be the king. Content has always been the king, is the king, will always remain the king, queen, prince, princess, whatever you call it. That's going to be the reality. Who has content? I mean, Dilip referred to a fellow journalist. Now suddenly from nowhere, because um, she had problems with the television channel, and then she started this, and suddenly a lot of people started watching her, not because she's doing it, but because of the content that she was providing. Let us be very clear about it. I think that I see a lot of youngsters coming out with innovative content, and the kind of eyeballs they are grabbing, that's, I mean, awesome, I would say. And that is because today people are looking for customized content. Now you are looking at a consumer's market. It's no more that you dish out whatever you want and people will are forced to watch that or read that. Today you are looking at people who want to, I mean, today, come to think of it, the same COVID also saw a 34% drop in FM radio stations, audience, because people were not traveling and not using the FM during their journey. So, but it saw a gradual rise in podcasts. Podcasts have grown like anything. Today, big media houses are investing in podcasts. So you have podcasts in mythology, you have podcasts in religion, spirituality, tourism, you name it. People are coming with podcasts. Recently, a friend of mine informed me that he has started one only on poetry, and there's a huge audience. He just started it, and so things are. People are looking for people now. Technology has enabled you to actually go for customized content where, as per your choice, you have the content. uh, Last but not the least, because I'm sure that more points will come up during the deliberations, I would say that technology is important, but as I said, content, that's going to be very important. Research is going to be important in the coming days. Sorry, I mean, I am also a Google user, but research has been replaced by Google search. I think that we need to go for actual research, going back to the books. It could be ebooks, it could be Kindle. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, but the thing is that you need to, the knowledge base has to be widened, because only then good content will come. The superficial, please believe me, right now, yes, some of the channels are getting attention because of the loud mouths, because of the shouting brigade and all that, but this is a temporary phenomena. Let me tell you, when I talk to my media students across the country, they are not at all happy. They ask me, is this journalism? And I tell them, no, it could be entertainment, it could be debate, it could be anything, but it's certainly not journalism. Journalism is ground level reportage. That is what you have to do. So, ground level reportage, more credible information, whoever provides, whether it is a newspaper or a television channel or a digital platform, whoever comes with credible, authentic, reliable, custom built information, he or she will survive. So this is going to be the survival of the crediblest, if I may use that term.
Yeah. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you. I mean, coming to Dilip, we have lots of people waiting to ask questions. Before we go to the questions, Dilip, very in brief, what you had given a very positive picture. Both Suresh is also, I mean, talking about it. The others too. I mean, just as he said, that technology is an enabling factor, but we also know the dangers of technology, like I mean, I mean, repeating things, or like creating fake news. I mean, and the distribution. I mean, we are talking about the WhatsApp university, like things like WhatsApp university. But I mean, we also know that, for example, there are the artificial intelligence coming up, the robots. I mean, they are replacing even say coding. I mean, in IT, they are replacing coding. How much can that affect? I mean, the technology at one hand is enabling, and also taking away opportunities, human opportunities. What do you think about that?
Is that for me,
Yes,
Burshigo?
yes, Dilip. Yes, it's for you.
I can't hear you. I'm hearing you in patches.
Huh?
Okay.
Just
Since nobody is going, I'll go for it then.
yeah,
Um,
please, please, yeah.
my my sense is that the there are at least two silos. One is what is called auto-generated content, and that's going to grow, and it's frightening what AI and machine learning is doing in terms of uh, creating content, and not just creating content but also creating programming, everything. That's something that is going to be uh, very critical in 4 or 5 kinds of businesses initially. The biggest place where it's going to replace um, human talent is in sports score reporting the scores of matches. So you will get your match scores uh, at a blinding pace, with commentary attached, with research attached. All of that will happen at a very fast pace. The second thing that's going to happen, second area where you can see this going to affect things, is in reporting on quarterly results, something that Arijit, for example, is intimately aware of. The speed with which these bots can analyze and give you percentages, quantify numbers, play with them, is actually has to be seen to be believed. And a lot of companies are currently using this in house, a lot of analysts are using this in house, but over a period of time, I suspect that this will penetrate through the walls of media, and media will find it convenient to use this. A third area where beginning to be more dominant is, for example, in things like product reviews. Now, you may think that these are all small silos, but these are all areas of media reporting, which are now getting more and more dominated by the need for speed and the greed for lowering costs. So you are finding that uh, expensive human beings are going to be replaced, at least at the first level of interaction, by machines, and then humans will come in to add, in inverted commas, what I think Professor Suresh, in a sense, referred to add a human touch. So it may not be the Google search that um, Nilesh is competently providing all of us, but it will be definitely one layer of, I would say, uh, artificially generated data or output, on which a human layer comes in. So what is actually going to happen is the kind of human overlay that is going to find employment has to be necessarily high value, it has to be high knowledge, and it has to have new levels of empathy and uh, expressions of human content, which a machine will find difficult for a certain period of time to be able to replicate quite easily. So, to my mind, there are opportunities, but opportunities are going to be limited for high quality, high speed individuals who have the skills and the multitasking capabilities to be able to do this very fast and provide the overlay, which makes some of these news items much more human. So it's not going to replace somebody who's going to interview a migrant worker on his way home or her home. It's not going to replace a new film actor who wants to comment on another film actor's suicide. Uh, that's not going to happen. But what is going to happen is that some spaces within the media are going to require very high speed, very high quality human overlays over what is going to be produced by machines. I'll stop here.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Dilip. Before I go to the others for a short reintroduction or reassessment, I would ask the audience. They are eagerly waiting. If you have any questions for the speakers, please do ask. Go shoot. You start talking about. There is one. I mean, one question already. Since we are in the job crisis in many fields, will it be the same for media platform as well? Especially, we were asking this question. Assuming and Dilip answers it. I mean, there will be high quality. The demand for high quality, especially for students going to pursue their degrees in the upcoming year. How difficult it is going to be? Yes, Arijit, will you try this? I mean, how difficult it will be for students? I mean, they are in a kind of a dilemma. What would be the fate of the youngsters? Arijit, any suggestions?
So, I mean, what I would say is, as Professor Suresh rightly said, that content is and will always be king. So, our quest, human quest for information will be relentless. COVID, no COVID, print, digital, television, it's all about information. So, as long as there is, this need for information, the relevance of media will remain. So for students, obviously, if you embrace technology and if you're open to multitasking, we are not going to see just just a print reporter. We are now going to see someone who can write, who can shoot a video, who can possibly even do a podcast, uh, tweet, do everything. So therefore, uh, I would say that there could be some issues currently as organizations also reorient themselves. But in the long run, if you are innovative, if you are if you can adapt to technologies and are open to trying new things, I think this is a golden era because even individuals are becoming brands. I mean, the whole idea of podcasts, the whole idea of newsletters, customized content, that makes individuals as brands. As we're talking about a former colleague and a friend of mine, Barkha, she's also an individual brand. So earlier, 20 years, 10 years ago, it was always you're a journalist associated with someone. Now even freelancers, if the content is good, can stand out and be noticed, and their content is monetizable. I mean, something that the corporate managers of the suits always strive for. That is the content. Can it be monetized? Will advertisers or others buy that content? Or even interestingly, there are new business models which are emerging. Subscription-led digital platforms are emerging, which is breaking the traditional norm. So this is actually, I would say, you know, with every crisis comes an opportunity, and we are seeing the same happen in media as well.
But can the print media, after all, the revenue is important. I mean, if can the print media improve upon or increase its revenue by going digital or having a digital, the supplement or a complement to the the print, platform? Is
Yes,
it
of course.
possible?
Because yes, it is, and it is happening because, as I said, I mean, there is the younger generation. They consume content or news content largely through digital platforms, and you cannot have these silos, print, new, and digital. It's one. It's just an extension. It's just different avenues of consuming content. So we work very closely with our internet arm.
Yeah.
We write for them,
Yeah.
some which are exclusive content for them. So it's not an either or. It's actually working in tandem together and being relevant 24 hours through the news cycle, through the day, 365 days.
Yeah, I hope Ria, you got your answer. Ria Biswas, who asked the question. I mean, you will have to, sort of adapt the changes. I mean, the content is king. Content is there. The platforms will change, so you will have to adapt your style to to your expression. Nilashish, what is your view of this? The robots taking over. And the big organizations like the IT organizations like Google, Microsoft, I mean, they or Facebook, maybe. What will they do to the young, the objective the young journalist with the objective of being, I mean, not biased? How will these big organizations, say Facebook or Google, be able to help them? I mean, not being misled with the huge data that is coming across through the social media. Yes, Shilashish?
Thank you, sir. That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll build on what Professor Suresh mentioned. And also what Mr. Cherian mentioned in terms of one, content will remain the king, irrespective of whatever platform it is served on. The second thing is in terms of adding multiple layers of understanding or in-depth review to the content will always require some bit of human touch. I think any repetitive work which can be put into a system, maybe that can definitely come with a AI help. But where human beings need to move up the value chain by providing content review, in-depth understanding, that is something which the students should focus on, and that will help them kind of differentiate one from the other. I think Arijit kind of mentioned, of Barkha building a brand of her own. I think that is very important, not only in journalism, not only in media, but in every profession. You have to have a personal brand, and that you build through hard work, through knowledge, and through credibility. So to answer your question in short, I know AI will start playing a role in every facet of our life, but as long as we are able to build that credibility, build a personal brand for ourselves, we will always hold that value in the market and in any field. And to refer back to the question that somebody asked in terms of, I know students are anxious. A lot of folks are anxious because some parts of the economy are down. But we have seen from history that things and economies and markets and businesses do bounce back. So there would be a bit of short-term pain in certain sectors, and but I'm pretty much sure and very confident that
Thank you.
that people across the different spectrums will definitely bounce back. So yes, I think that's how I would end my answer here. Please focus on building your personal brand, build your knowledge, keep reading, keep learning, and you will always be relevant in whatever format comes up.
Yes, there is another question which has to do with the advertising sector. I mean, saying that maybe this could be relevant for Dilip. How do we prepare ourselves in the changed circumstances, being part of the advertising sector in the coming years, in the changed environment? Is it? Am I audible? Can you, or do I repeat the question?
I'll start with a I'll start with a little joke. The first thing is that you probably need to be much more careful about your spelling. And that's just a joke, but it's something that students today tend to ignore, thinking that spell check will take care of their lives. It doesn't happen that way.
It can make things worse.
Advertising, in terms of advertising, the best way to prepare yourself is not to study advertising. The finest minds in advertising as well as in journalism have come by focused study of something entirely different. So the myth that you need to study advertising at the undergraduate level to be a great advertising whiz kid is incorrect. You may be able to get an internship easier if you are in one of those institutes which teaches you advertising as an option, but doesn't matter what course you do, you've got to be you've got to have a febrile mind, something that actually is curious and willing to explore everything. Great advertising at the end of the day is what speaks to the heart of the consumer, and she is not interested whether you got a degree in advertising or not. She wants to know whether the message you put out, the content you put out, and once again I will repeat what was said earlier, that content is king. Whether it's visual content or textual content, you need to have content which speaks to the heart of the consumer. And if you can do that, you've got a future in advertising. But as I said, learn some skill, master it, and make sure that you have all the bells and whistles in terms of making sure that you are doing it right.
Um, uh, uh, Professor Suresh, I mean, as the question was raised by, I mean, Dilip also, I mean, it is the lack of, you also said that the journalism is a profession which needs training. I mean, I mean, the element of wrong spelling, wrong idiom, this is something which needs a lot of cultivation, which doesn't happen. Maybe even in our institution, it's not taken care of. How do you, what would be there can be shortcut in this. I mean, how could you make the students more careful about their expressions or language? Yeah, Professor.
Absolutely. I think that, Dilip referred to a very important point, whether it's journalism, advertising, public relation. Today the biggest casualty I see in media schools also is that, people, when it comes to language, I think students are neglecting it like anything. And that's very unfortunate. You see, we are basically playing with alphabets only, whether it is creative or it's journalistic. We are playing with words, we are playing with alphabets, and if you're not sure about that, then there is a problem. At our own institute, the news institute that you referred to, we are setting up an exclusive language lab. The whole idea is that, to give them training in language. For example, MTI, mother tongue influence, is something which is absolutely unaffordable in a medium like television or radio. You cannot absolutely have MTI or mother tongue influence. That's very important, so that has to be taken care of. I mean, one problem, you see, I believe that the root cause is because students are no more reading. You see, this is the problem. Students are no more reading. I mean, they're not even reading newspapers. And I'm not talking about this year. I have been, teaching for the last 2 decades. And wherever I have gone, I have found a problem with students not even reading newspapers, and they're aspiring to be journalists. This is most unfortunate. And we had to have regular classes in the morning only for, that's called, newspaper reading session. We will make them sit before us and make them read newspapers. Because as Arijit said, that statesmen, I mean, we were also told the same thing. Statesmen, the Hindu, you should be reading these to improve your language, your general knowledge, that you should be reading. Now those days are gone. People are no more reading. We used to regularly read the Reader's Digest. Now that emphasis on language articulation, the way on television channel people are pronouncing particularly unfamiliar names, there is no training. I mean, there was this classical case of a Doordarshan anchor referring to the Chinese president as Levin Jinping. Now, this absolutely shows the absence of training even at the institutions. I mean, that's
Yeah,
very important. We are not giving enough training even in our institutions, our media houses. I mean, once
yeah,
people come, and that is why repeatedly I am emphasizing everywhere that, like in the medical profession, you have CME programs, continuing medical education programs, wherein the medical professional updates himself with the latest in the field of medicine. Similarly, we should be having CME programs for media professionals, continuing media education.
absolutely,
Some
absolutely.
media houses
Yeah,
have technological upgradation, but I think that in terms of linguistics, in terms of style of writing, we need to upgrade the skills of journalists
absolutely,
constantly.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Professor Suresh. I mean, there are lots of questions. So I just, I mean, open this question. There is a question from one of the RJs, important RJs, how radio will survive in the age of podcast. Professor Suresh raised this question. What are the possible ways? I am a radio fan. I mean, the
Absolutely.
question.
You
I
see,
mean,
podcast is there. No doubt that because of the COVID pandemic, people are not traveling, so they are not tuning into, FM stations. But I think that that will come back because FM at the end of the day is live. Podcast is not live, in that sense. FM is interactive. You can, and there is a connect between the jockey, the radio jockey, and the audience. He or she speaks about contemporary issues. I have been closely working with the UNICEF, and we have been training radio jockeys, in disseminating information related to cyber safety, regarding routine immunization. We have been working with them, and that has been great success. We have been
yeah,
awarding them also. And so RJs are going to be, it is RJs. Again, you see, it's going to be branding. It's going to be personal branding. Like the way you have now some television channels which are driven by the anchors, the primetime anchors. Similarly, the radio stations, FM stations will be largely driven by popular anchors or RJs. They are going to drive it. And again, you need training, in voice modulation, in, your language skills, and you have to be connected to what is happening at the grassroots level. Only then will you be able to communicate with the people at
absolutely,
large.
absolutely. I mean, like for example, I mean, you are so positive. Things are. I mean, how things have changed. I mean, people when the television said that was the end of radio, but the radio came
Yes,
back. Radio came back
absolutely.
in FM style. I mean, now I
Yes,
mean there may be podcasts coming. That doesn't mean that radio jockeys will be held back. I mean, there will be a
yes,
new birth to it. There is
yes.
another question here. I mean, anybody can answer. During COVID lockdown, many have stopped reading newspapers, and many core newspaper readers have shifted to online media. And
I think
do
Arijit should
you
answer
still
that.
think that after COVID, those people will shift back from online to printed newspaper? Arijit, any idea? Will they shift back?
So they will shift back. They will, but not everyone. Let's be realistic. I want to shift back because I am just. It's as I said. It's a matter of habit. If I am, I mean, if I'm just habituated reading the physical form, no tablet or no phone can replace that. It's a one-on-one association. So, whereas, I mean, there are a lot of young people who are comfortable consuming their news on a digital platform. So, as I said, the way we look at it, we are integrated media house, and the way we look at it, it's that it's not either or. It's not that we are competing with our online properties. It's working together so that we can capture everything that our readers across the age group they want or aspire, whether it's short, like short bursts of news or more analytical form, deep dive or edits or opinion or breaking news. They should come to us, and whether they're coming to us on digital or online, it's the same. I mean, so So to answer the question, some people will come back, but not everybody would.
Yeah. So there is another question. Maybe Dilip could try this. People say media is sold as it works for its own profit. We have seen media manipulation in lots of cases because people believe what they see. So where is the media standing between real and real? REEL, real and real. That's the question. Where do we stand? First of all, whether do you believe that media has been sold? There may be some sections, but the generalization that media is sold, that has to be questioned as well. Yes, Dilip? Dilip, can you hear me? Dilip, can you hear me? I think Dilip is
Sure,
having a
I'll
problem.
go for it. I think there are multiple reasons why this refers to the paid media as opposed to fake media. There are multiple reasons why this has grown. The main reason is that India's consumers, as well as global consumers, are unwilling to pay the price for the consumption of news. Uh, if you open Wikipedia today, the first thing that hits you is a request for a donation. So there is no such thing as free media, and media has spoiled consumers and its customers by giving it at a price below its production cost. In India, the the damage was done by India's largest uh, publishing group, and it went into a cycle of a downward spiral. So what you're talking about is helping customers and consumers recognize that they have to pay pennies for accessing media. This concept of free media is what has resulted in media getting sold. The moment media is not dependent on advertising, 60% of which comes from government, you will find a more real media with REAL. So it'll be more real than the juice, and it will have the juice that makes it worth consuming. So consumers have to be trained into accepting and paying for the news that they want.
Yeah, Dilip,
Thank you.
there is another question. It seems it's your question. There is a report, he doesn't specify, Tani Banerjee. There is a report saying that public relation jobs will be the one most affected post-pandemic. What are your views?
My views, Tani, is that exactly what I said about advertising. Don't bother about learning public relations in college. If you're already enrolled for a course, don't drop out, but do a course which is much more hardcore. Do a course in science, do a course in law, do a course in accounting. That will prepare you for a career in public relations. In the meantime, improve your spelling, improve your capability of writing, improve your capability of storytelling visually. These are the skills that we are looking for. We are not looking for somebody who has learned how a public relations company is structured or how corporate relations and communications is handled. We can teach you that in 6 weeks. What we can't teach you is a real life skill in some sector which you need to know enough about to make yourself slightly valuable in the industry itself.
Yeah, there's another question. I mean, maybe Nilashish can try. I mean, sir, I'm a new media content writer. I want to progress with content writing and also want to build my career. I want to know about the possibilities in content writing. I mean, that is what the question is. He answered, what is the institute or the university best to train? Well, I'm biased. I will say these. Yes, here is the best place. But then I would ask. I mean, Nilashish, what is the prospects of a content writer? I mean, media content writer.
I think as we have been discussing, I think content is important, and
It's
again,
Chandrima. Yeah.
you have to have you have to have a. I mean, first of all, thanks Chandrima for the question. I think to answer your question, what I would say, get a good grip of the language. Prepare yourself for it. And as a lot of our panelists are mentioning here, you don't really need to enroll for a specific course on content writing. As long as you are enrolled for a course which is closer to what your interests lie, I don't think there are any barriers of entry to any of the media content writing jobs from my understanding and experience.
Yeah. I mean, there is Jointo here. Hello, Jointo. I mean, Jointo saying the citizen doctor, uh, citizen doctor, no. Then why citizen journal? I mean, Professor Suresh, it's a direct question to you.
Absolutely. I've been asking the same question. I mean, how can you have, I mean, a profession wherein anybody can just walk in, and claim to be a journalist? I mean, nobody can just walk in and claim to be a. I mean, yes, Dilip is right. That some of the leading journalists we have had in the last century never trained themselves. But because at that time you hardly had training colleges for media. That was one reason. Second, media has changed. It's no more just writing on plain paper or typewriting it. Media has changed. The skills are important today. So I'm not saying that it has to be a master's program followed by a PhD or something like that. But you need at least a diploma program to understand the nuances. You see, it's not just about content. It's also about ethics. It's also about the Constitution of India, which you need to know. It's also about your media laws, which are in place, whether it is IPC, CRPC, it is libel, slander, defamation. You need to know about these things. And that only a media college can teach you. So I think that to say that, today, because situation has changed, how to counter fake news or fake content, as we call it, how to, identify that. You need training in that, about sourcing, about, usage of technology today in a big way that is happening. Perhaps at an individual level, unless you can afford it, it may not be possible. I know there are even today people who don't have a degree or diploma in journalism, but it's like somebody practicing medicine at home, giving homeo treatments and other stuff without being trained in that. I think
Yeah.
that it is very essential for any person to have some basic skilling.
There
Whether it
is.
is
Yeah,
yes.
Professor, there is a general view that anybody can be a journalist. I mean, anybody can write and be published. That's the general view, and this possibly the social media has strengthened that point of view. I mean,
And you have
without
seen the
singling.
consequences. You have seen the
Yeah.
consequences. Even this morning, we have seen the consequences.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
there is
we are
fact
trying
checking.
running out
There
of
is
time.
fact checking.
We will have to.
There is the
Yeah.
gatekeeping. There is the gatekeeping. There is the editorial process.
That's the training part. That's the training part. How do you do it? I
Yes.
mean, how do you? Yeah. So I mean, there are lots of questions, but we will have to stop here. There is one more question, which I think, I mean, which can be a question for our, I mean, Times of India person, Arijit. Say there is Shushmita asking, if media is growing big, why can't a beginner get a fair amount of salary? How would you
Well,
face that?
no. So what I would say is, um, it's not that we or media organizations now pay peanuts. Things have changed. When I started in 1997, 98, my starting salary was 2,500 rupees, and when I got confirmed 6 months later, it was 5,000 rupees. This was in Calcutta.
Well, I started in the 80s with 250 rupees as a trainee journalist in the Statesman. Just
The 250,
yes, carry on.
later became 2,500, I guess. So no. So if you are comparing yourself with with say a corporate job or a banking or a pay packet of a law firm, then it's a hopeless game. But there is things have changed, things have improved. We may not pay. We when I say it, I'm referring to media as a whole. But 10 year from what it was, it's improving. There is definitely room or scope for improvement. But that's where the role of the specialist. If you are a specialist, if you are just you beyond being a general writer on everything, if you really specialize and drill deep, people do recognize such talent and are willing to pay a premium, even
Yeah, I
even
think.
even at an early stage.
Yeah, I think, Professor, you might corroborate that things like the low pay are mostly by the exploitative, the fly by night kind of, the media houses or which have just come up without any tradition or something. They are the low payers. But generally, the established media houses, they pay well. I mean, if you are good, they will pay well. I mean, it is some organizations which have dubious beginnings. Maybe they are the people who, without any training or something, they are the, they pay, a meager sum. What is your view,
Uh,
Professor?
Professor, generally, English, publications certainly, pay you a comfortable salary. Unfortunately, I don't see that in language media. In fact, there are some leading, I don't want to take names here. They just provide you with an ID card and they say that you earn for yourself and earn for us also. And they are the big names. I don't want to
Yeah,
name them.
yeah,
But the fact is that, somewhere I also hold, I have a different view. I know that some people may not agree, but I believe that, we used to have that institution called the wage board. That has now been, totally diluted, merged.
it has
We had the
totally
working journalists act and all
non-functional.
those things. I think that continues to remain relevant. If you want the fourth estate to be strong and vibrant, you have to ensure that the contract system has actually eroded the independence of the journalists in a big way. And I think the wage
Yeah,
board, the working journalists act, should be revived. That's very important, because that only can
exactly.
guarantee. But even they were not being implemented honestly at the ground level. Though in fact, leading employers went to the Supreme Court against the last wage board. That was
Yeah,
unfortunate. But yes, some of them are really paying good. But there is also the other spectrum where you have stringers and people working at the district level who are paid peanuts, and that is resulting in paid news. That's resulting in a lot of
absolutely.
people going for moonlighting and other stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, with that note, there has been a lot of, we have covered a wide spectrum of areas, and each of our speakers have been very positive about the profession. And as Professor said, that being a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant, this is a profession which needs proper training, which is lacking, which need to be strengthened. But at the same time, if we have to take it that seriously, there has to be a proper structure in salary and payment also. That is also has to be ensured. Otherwise, we will not be able to attract the brighter students. Or we have a lot of interest among the youngsters. They want to join. I have seen people who have left, say, 3 years of engineering and joined communication, studying communication in my universities. That happens. They have, but maybe there is no structure at the end, when after the training they don't get a good salaried job as a journalist. Possibly those things have to change. And with that note, we will end today's program. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Professor Suresh. Thank you, Orijit. Thank you,
Thank you.
Nilashish, coming to, spending
Thank
so
you.
much of time, of your precious time. I know we are very busy people, but
Thank
then
you.
I'm sure this has helped our upcoming journalists, the new students who have taken up media or want to take up media. will be encouraged by whatever you have said. You have already discussed the problems as well as the prospect. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
It was
you.
a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Wish your
having me.
students all the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Take
Thank
care.
you, Arijit. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
All
you.
the best. Thank you. Thank you.
All the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you.
Bye.